This group of Indians really, literally deteriorated as time went on. The really motivated among them, the original group, evaporated. They left the island when they saw that some newcomers wanted to try to make a permanent thing out of it. They didn't agree with this tactic.
A very difficult statement to make regarding Alcatraz is the Indian people turned out to be our own worst enemies. The Bay Area Native American Council was dead. The occupation of Alcatraz was dying. In many ways, it was like a catch-22 situation or the Lord of the Flies.
Friday morning, June 11th, 1971. 3 of the Indian occupants were arrested in San Francisco for theft of government property. The Indians had extracted copper from the island and were selling it on the mainland for supplies. With these arrests, the occupation of Alcatraz collapsed. Friday afternoon, 20 federal marshals armed with shotguns and automatic weapons landed on Alcatraz and removed the remaining 15 Indian occupants. 6 men, 4 women, and 5 children. It had been written in spray paint on the ruins of the prison. They had meant to stay. Instead, the Indians pillaged and burned, destroying much of what they had sacrificed for. Their once strong cries for freedom were now smothered, content to lie buried under the dirt and rubble they left behind. Only the lighthouse remained intact, serving as the sole reminder of the Alcatraz that once was, while the island waited for its new occupant, the tourist.
In April of 1973, when the General Services Administration handed title to Alcatraz to the National Park Service, we then had to decide what is the best way to make the ultimate decision. That process came quickly to us when we decided that in order to make a decision with the public would first have to view the island. And so we decided to open the island to visitation to the public for approximately a 3 to 5 year period, at which time they could see the island as it was and get a factual history through our tour guides of what the island was like, not only during its prison history, but also its pre-prison history.
I really believe, as far as the reputation of Alcatraz, that the public has made Alcatraz the hellhole that everybody thinks that it is, or, was. Well, one woman came up here one day, and I think she had about 3 or 4 kids and her husband. And she was about to go onto the boat, and she was looking at the books, and she said, how often do the boats run out there, and talking about it, and said, every half hour, 45 minutes, whatever it was. And she said, do you get to look at the prisoners very long? And I said, there aren't any prisoners there. The prison's been closed since '63. She says, what? Outraged, totally outraged. We bought these tickets and made reservations thinking we were going to see prisoners, an electric chair. And she was so upset she went over and turned in her tickets. And that's the extreme of the public reacting to Alcatraz. But it's very common for someone to be disappointed that they're not going to see an electric chair there, even though knowing the prison's going to be closed and has been closed, they still think they're going to see all the morbid side of it still there, and they won't believe otherwise.
To date, we've had over 1.25 million people visit the island, and most of those people are saying to us, leave as it is. Clean it up a little bit, but it is a part of America's history. It's a part that, although we may not be too proud of certain segments of it, that it is something for not only us to see, but our children and our children's children.
I believe it's a mistake to glamorize crime and criminals, and there's something completely incongruous about young children running in and out of Al Capone's cell when we're trying to teach them that crime and violence and aggressive behavior is to be avoided.
In retrospect, I have to say that the continuation of Alcatraz as a tour function is important, because as long as prisons like this exist, and they still exist throughout the United States and the world, I feel that there's a necessity for people to be able to walk into Alcatraz and see what's going on. This prison tended to dehumanize, degrade, and punish men. A prison like this shows the falseness, shows the failure of our prison system. People talk of rehabilitation in prisons. Rehabilitation is an alien concept on Alcatraz. There was no rehabilitation. I see that if Alcatraz and institutions like it changed to where men could come out, become remotivated, become really functional individuals in our society, then I would say raise Alcatraz to the ground and return it to the Pelicans. Because other than that, I can see no other purpose for this island. That's it.
The Indians native to Northern California considered the island a dwelling place for evil spirits, a place unfit for human life. Nothing good would come of it for men, the Ohlonies said. Indeed, history has shown that little of benefit has. Man and the island have proved themselves incompatible. Their futile attempts to deal with each other end only in more misery and deprivation. But we still continue to try. Call it Bird Island, The Rock, or Alcatraz. No piece of nature has ever so patiently resisted all attempts to be made into something of lasting purpose as have these 12 acres of land. As history has shown, it has been a lighthouse, a fort, every category of prison, a battleground, a political podium, and finally, a tourist attraction. Passing from one role to another more by default than design. We have tried to give it to the military, to force it on the outcasts of society, to return it to the people. And perhaps someday it will be once again taken back by nature.